All right, so we are doing barbecue chicken sandwiches today. This is actually a pretty easy recipe, which is good. So the first thing that we're gonna wanna do is make our seasoning mixture for the chicken. So I'm just gonna grab a little small ramekin. You can do a small bowl, whatever is easiest. And the first thing that we're gonna wanna measure out is 1 teaspoon of smoked paprika. If you don't have smoked paprika, if you have regular paprika, that's totally fine too. But I'm just gonna take my jar here. To make it a little bit easier, I'm gonna take this shake cover off so that I can put my spoon in there. Just give me 1 sec. Okay, perfect. So now I'm gonna take my 1 teaspoon measurement, so the one with the little t. And I'm gonna measure that of our paprika and stick that into my small bowl here. So I'm kind of scooping in the container and shaking out any excess. So that looks like pretty even. I'm gonna put that in.
Sophia,
Yes, Enrique, what's that?
The first step is paprika, right? But which teaspoon?
1 teaspoon.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome. Okay, so once everyone has their paprika measured, shoot me a thumbs up and we will go on and measure the next ingredient. Kristen, I see you. Good job. Caitlin, I see you. Awesome. Tasha, I see you. Perfect. Joshy's good. Enrique, you all set? Okay, good. Nikki, if you need any more time, let me know. The next ingredient we're going to measure is garlic powder. So we're going to do a 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder. So I'm grabbing my 1/2 teaspoon measurement. I know it's backwards on the camera, but so you want 1/2 teaspoon. So we're putting half the amount of garlic powder that we are paprika. So I'm going to do the same thing, scooping in my bottle. I'm just putting in that container with the paprika. Once everyone has their garlic powder measured, give me another thumbs up. All right, I see a bunch of people done already. Okay, looks like we're good. So then the next 2 ingredients we have to put into here, I'll start on pepper. It's a 1/4 teaspoon of each. I know I've said this before, usually when it's a 1/4 teaspoon of something, I personally usually just like to do a few scrunches, but if you guys want to measure it out, that's totally fine. So I usually take my salt grinder and go, 4 scrunches, that should be good. And then I'll do the same thing with pepper. And then once you guys have everything in here, I'm just going to take one of my measuring spoons and just mix it all together. So that way you can see there's garlic powder and paprika all mixed together. It's not just 1 dollop of red and 1 dollop of white. So now they're all mixed together. So once it looks like that, you should be all good. And then once everyone has their seasoning mixture set, thumbs up, and we'll go on to the next step. I see Kristen, I see Caitlin, I see Enrique. Tasha's good. Joshy, it looks like you might be frozen. So if you guys need more time, you can always just unmute yourself and let me know. Okay, now you're good. I can see you guys. Perfect. And again, Nikki, if you ever need more time, you can always just unmute yourself and let me know too. Okay, so now we're going to take out our chicken. We're using chicken thighs for this. You can also use chicken breast, whatever you guys prefer. For the sake of my household, I am only gonna do 1 chicken thigh just because I don't have enough people to eat 4. But I'm still using all the same measurements for 4 so that we can all be on the same page. So we're gonna take our chicken thighs out of the package. I have mine here. If there's any of them that seem to be a little bit on the bigger side, you can always cut them in half so that they can fit on the bun. I'll be right back. I'm just washing my hands. And something we always want to be careful of when we're handling raw meat is making sure that we're always washing our hands once we touch something else. If you're more comfortable wearing gloves, you can always wear gloves too. But once you touch something else after you've touched raw meat, you want to make sure that you wash your hands. Okay, so I'm gonna just trim off some of this excess fat that I see here. If you guys want to do that, you can too, but that's definitely not necessary. But I just usually like to take some of that extra off. You don't have to get all of it off though. And I'd say this thigh that I have on my board right here is a pretty good size. They will shrink a little bit when we cook them. So I feel like this will fit on a bun nicely. So if you have anything that looks a little bit bigger than this, you might want to cut them in half. Just to make sure that it'll fit on the bun. Or even if you did sliders, you can cut them in half too. So then that way they would fit. Okay. So then for our chicken, what we're going to do is we just made our spice mixture and we're going to want to rub that on both sides of our chicken. So obviously what we have here is made for all 4 pieces of chicken. So I'm not going to use all of it, but you want to make sure that you have each piece evenly coated. So you guys should be using all of your spice mixture and it should cover all 4 pieces. So I'm just going to lightly sprinkle and rub it in. And then you're just going to want to flip it over and do the same thing on the other side. So you want all areas of your chicken covered in that mixture. And you want to use your fingers to rub it in so that it gets in all the nooks and crannies. So our whole pieces, all of our pieces of chicken are seasoned well. All right, that looks pretty good to me. All right. So once you guys have all your chicken thighs seasoned, you can give me a thumbs up. I'm going to be right back. I see Caitlin, you're good already. I'm going to go wash my hands again. I'll be right back. All right, how's everyone doing? I see we got a few people done, a few people still working. That's totally fine. You want to make sure your chicken's nice and seasoned. I see some thumbs up. Awesome. I see some people seasoning. Great job. And I know it's more fall now, but these are really good. You could do them on the grill too, if it's a day in the summer. Obviously, since we've had a lot of rain recently and it's the fall's turning now, so we're going to do them inside, but these would also be a great recipe to do on the grill if in the summer, if you guys like them and want to make them again. All right. Does anyone need any more time seasoning? If so, totally fine. Just let me know. But it looks like everyone's good. Okay, so now we're gonna move to our stove. We're gonna get this chicken cooked up through in our pan. You want to make sure you're using a pan that can fit all of your chicken in one layer without them touching. Again, since I'm cooking one piece of chicken, my pan's a little bit smaller, but I'm gonna turn my heat onto medium. And then we're gonna want to put about a tablespoon of olive oil in there. I'm just gonna make sure that the bottom of my pan is coated so that the chicken won't stick. So that might be slightly more than a tablespoon, but as long as the chicken doesn't stick, we'll be okay. I'll swirl it around a little bit. We're gonna give that just a few seconds to heat up. And then you're gonna want to make sure you have either a pair of tongs or a spatula, whatever you would prefer to use to flip your chicken handy. Just making sure that my oil is covered on the whole pan. And like I said, you want to make sure that your pan is big enough to fit the chicken in a single layer, because if they're overlapped on each other, then a lot of times the cook doesn't come out the same. And if for some reason you don't have a pan that doesn't fit all the chicken, that's totally fine. You can always just do multiple batches. As long as your chicken is in one layer, you should be totally good. All right, so I'm gonna grab my piece of chicken. They're on my cutting board. So I'm gonna bring my cutting board over here. I'm just gonna use the tongs to grab my pieces of chicken. And when you put something in the pan that has some oil that's been heating up, a good trick that I like to use is you want to always lay the piece of food down closest to you and then let it lay down away from you so that if anything splashes, it won't hit you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold my chicken like this. I'm going to put it down and then let it go away from me. So then that way, if anything just splashed, it wouldn't have hit me and I won't get burned with hot oil. So we're going to want to cook this chicken about 5 to 7 minutes on both sides because we are going to cook it in full. If you happen to have a meat thermometer on you, you can always use one of those to check throughout the process. If you do and you're going to use one, we know that chicken is cooked once it's reached 165 degrees internally.
Is it medium heat?
Yes, medium heat. And while we cook it on each side, we kind of want to leave it alone because what that's going to do is help to create a nice crispy crust on the bottom and on the top once we flip it. Because if we continue to touch and move it, it won't make as much of a crispy crust. So that's why we put it in, and we're kind of just going to let it sit for a few minutes now. And anyone who just joined us, so far we have measured out all of our spices. We have seasoned our chicken and we just added our chicken thighs to the pan. We're going to be cooking them around 5 to 7 minutes on both sides or until they're fully cooked. And just be careful of any splattering oil. I know my oil's bubbling up and splattering a little bit, so just be careful when you guys are cooking. And since right now, we're kind of just letting the chicken sit for a little bit, I like to sometimes go and start cleaning some of my stuff so that I don't have a sink full of dishes. So what I'm gonna do right now, I'm gonna wash the cutting board that I just had my chicken touched. If you want, you can go ahead and clean something too in the sink. Otherwise, you could always just keep your eye on the chicken and make sure that nothing's burning, or you want to make sure you're just watching it while it cooks. All right. My chicken's sizzling a good amount. So I'm gonna kind of check on it and see if it looks like it's ready to flip. If you look closely, either at your chicken or at mine too, you can kind of see that around the edges, it's starting to turn white, and in the top, it's still got that pink color. So we can see the bottom, and the heat's starting to rise. So it is starting to cook on the bottom. So now probably is a good time to flip that. So again, I'm going to carefully grab my tongs. I'm going to grab it at the end closest to me. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to put it down right next to me and then push it away. And we've got a really nice crispy crust on there. So that's good. I do have a bit of smoke coming from my pan, so I'm just going to turn my heat down a little bit, but just gauge based on what your chicken is looking like, because all stove tops are different. So then we'll continue to let this cook about another 5 minutes. If we have thermometers, we can check the temperature and see how we're doing. And like I had mentioned earlier, you can tell that this piece kind of shrunk up a little bit already. So that'll definitely fit a bun very nicely. Everyone looks like they're doing a really good job. Turning my heat down again a little bit. So we don't want anything to burn. All right, I'm gonna do a test with the thermometer just to show you guys how it would look. If you have one that you want to use, you're more than welcome to do that too. So when we use a meat thermometer, we always want to go toward the thickest part of the chicken or whatever the piece of meat is. You want to make sure that all areas of the piece of meat are cooked evenly. So the thickest part usually is going to take the longest to cook. So that's why we want to check that one. Because if the thickest part is already, that means the thinner parts are too. So this place right here looks pretty thick to me. So I'm sticking my thermometer in there. Right now, it's reading about 156. It went up to. So I know that it still needs a little more time to be able to fully cook through. Just gonna check the other side to make sure that didn't burn. Nope, that looks good.
How hot does it have to be?
What was your question, Joshi?
How hot does it have
For
to be?
the temperature.
So the temperature of the chicken, is that what you're asking?
Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
You have to say yes.
Yes.
Okay, so the thermometer, you want it to say
Stop.
165.
It froze, so we need to have her come back so she can answer.
So whenever you check the temperature for chicken
Yeah, so how
specifically,
hot would
you want
be
it to be
spicy, but what's the
165
temperature it should
degrees
be? We
Fahrenheit.
keep losing. Oh, 165?
Yes. All right, so I'm gonna try one more time. I'm gonna check again. It's been another minute or so. I'm gonna stick my thermometer right in there. All right, around the same spot, we've got a little bit higher, around 200. So that I might have put it in too far down. Yep, this is still around 158, so that needs some time. You want to make sure too that when you put the thermometer in, you're not going all the way down. Because if you go all the way down, it's just going to read the temperature of the pan. So I'm going to stick it in about halfway through to get to the middle. Yeah, over here, we're only at 150. So that definitely needs a little more time. What I'm going to do is just flip it again, just so that this side doesn't burn. So I just flipped it again back to the first side. And once we're waiting for our chicken to fully cook through, that's something you can always do. You can continue to flip it once it's created the crust. So that way we don't have anything burning on either side. All right, so this side of the chicken seems to be good. That's coming up at 170, but I still have this thicker part here. That's reading about 160, so it's almost done. I'm gonna give it another minute or so, and then we should be good. How is everyone's chicken looking? Are we thinking we're around the same spot as me? Maybe another minute or so?
I mean, when I took off the middle of the splatter thing, it felt like we were trying to prevent the lava out of the volcano. You see that the volcanoes on my emoji.
You wanted to prevent what?
Because once it felt like it shot a fireball at me. And then
Oh no!
the next time it looked like it was erupting out. Like Kilauea in Hawaii.
Was it splattering a little bit?
Well,
This,
that's it.
it looked like this.
It's a little chicken splatter volcano.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that will happen once in a while. As
Create-
long as you didn't get burned.
a cone.
Okay, I'm gonna check on my chicken one more time. I think we should be good now. Hopefully, there's no chicken splatter volcanoes anymore. All right, I'm at 170 here and 170 here, so that's good, perfect. I'm gonna turn my heat off, and then I'm gonna transfer this piece of chicken. I just have a paper plate over here, just to another plate. And I'm gonna come back over here. All right. Is everyone's chicken fully cooked off the heat, or does anyone need more time to keep cooking? You guys need a little more time? Okay, we're gonna wait for you. Just let me know whenever you're ready. If anyone else needs more time, just let me know when you're ready too. Anyone who is taking their chicken out, just make sure it's on a separate plate. You're gonna wanna have your barbecue sauce handy and make sure you turn the heat off of the stove. This smells really good. Another thing you could do, if you didn't want to cook the chicken on top of the stove, you could always bake the chicken thighs too, and just put them on a sheet tray. That might be easier for a weeknight if you've got some other stuff going on and you don't have the time to watch the chicken over the stove top. That's another easy way, again, as long as it's cooked to 165. Tasha, you guys are good? Perfect. Okay. So the next thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna cover our cooked chicken thighs in barbecue sauce. So what I'm gonna do is I have a pastry brush. If you guys have one, you could use one. Otherwise, a spoon works just as well. So I'm just gonna drizzle a little over my chicken, and then I'm gonna take my pastry brush or my spoon. I'm gonna brush it all over there so that it gets all covered. And then I'm just gonna flip it and make sure it's brushed on the other side too. So we're gonna do this to all of our pieces of chicken. Put a little more sauce on there. And you guys can use whatever barbecue sauce is your favorite. All right, so once your chicken is fully covered, all sides, all the nooks and crannies got the barbecue sauce, that's good. We can just set those aside for now. So once you guys have all your chicken covered in barbecue sauce, give me another thumbs up, and we have one more thing to make. Joshy, I see your thumbs up. Caitlin, I see you. Kristen, I see you. Enrique, I see you. If you guys like this recipe too, another thing you could do is always try and make your own barbecue sauce next time if that's something you wanted to try out. But this way, it's very simple when we use the bottle of barbecue sauce, but there's always the option. See everyone brushing really well. Tasha, was that a thumbs up from you too? All good? Okay, does anyone need any more time? All right, looks like we're all good. So now we're gonna get started on our coleslaw. So the first thing that we're going to want to cut up for our coleslaw is some green onions. So I'm gonna take 2 green onions and put those on my cutting board. We're just gonna slice those up. I'm gonna remove the tops just because those are a little bit dried up. And then I'm just gonna slice my green onions, including the green and the white parts. And we're gonna add that as part of our coleslaw. So I'm just gonna use that rocking motion with the knife. Okay, perfect. So I'm just gonna take those sliced green onions and add them into a medium-sized mixing bowl. And then once you guys have your green onions sliced up, just give me another thumbs up. I see some already, great job. Oh, wow. Joshy, look at your chopping skills. Good job. I see Tasha chopping. Looks like Enrique's chopping too. My favorite part about using green onions instead of regular onion is the green onion doesn't make me cry. Oh, Enrique, are you crying a little bit from the onions? I know it hurts. It hurts. All right. How are we all doing? Does anyone need a little more time? All right, looks like everyone's okay. Enrique, you doing okay over there? Okay, good. Okay, so now what we're gonna do, we're just gonna take our bag of coleslaw mix and we're just gonna add that to the same bag with the green onions. I know my bag of coleslaw mix came with its own dressing. So if you wanted to use that instead of the homemade ranch that we're gonna make, that's totally fine too. Usually the coleslaw dressings that come with the package tend to be like more of a sweet dressing. So if you want a sweeter dressing, you can use that. And then the ranch is a little bit more tangy. Or you can always put use the coleslaw dressing and then put the ranch as like a sauce on your bun. You could do both. You could do one or the other, whatever's easier. So then now we're just going to set this aside for a sec because we're going to work on the ranch quickly. So you can get a small mixing bowl out. Does everyone have their coleslaw mix in a bowl? Perfect. Okay, so we're going to need a 4th cup of sour cream or Greek yogurt or dairy-free alternative of either. I just have one of these yogurt cups here. It's going to be probably a little bit more than a 4th cup, but I'll make some extra ranch. I do love ranch. I do tend to use Greek yogurt more than sour cream, just because Greek yogurt has some extra protein in there. So if you're ever looking for ways to add some extra protein, Greek yogurt is a great substitute for sour cream because they have that similar tanginess. So once everyone has their Greek yogurt measured, give me another thumbs up. I see you, Caitlin.
How much yogurt do we need?
1/4 of a cup.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Does everyone have their yogurt measured or does anyone need more time? Okay, looks like everyone's all ready. So then we're going to do a packet of ranch seasoning mix. So you're just going to want to dump that in there. I have some from a bottle, so I'm just going to measure about like 2 tablespoons. I think that's going to be equivalent to what's in the packet. And then I can always taste and see if it needs any more. So we're going to add that packet to the yogurt or the sour cream and then just mix it together.
Hey, Sophia, can I ask you one question?
Of course you can.
Am I supposed to put the sour cream in here or in the other bowl?
Is the orange bowl, does that have your coleslaw in it?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're going to want to put the sour cream in a separate bowl first.
Oh, that's why I made a mistake.
That's okay. If you put it in the bowl with the coleslaw, that's totally fine. You can just, then what I would do is you can put the ranch packet directly into the bowl with the coleslaw as well. And this
Okay,
was-
sure. Thanks.
Of course.
Oh, and how many are we gonna put in there?
So you're gonna do 1 packet of ranch seasoning. If you don't have a packet and you have it in a bottle like I do, I did about 2 tablespoons.
2 tablespoons. You got
Yep.
it.
All right, so my yogurt and ranch is mixed all together. Since we're using yogurt or sour cream, they do tend to be a little bit thicker. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna add a little splash of water just to thin it a little, since this is gonna be the dressing for our coleslaw. So I just added like 2 little spurts of water, and I'm just gonna carefully mix that together, just so that the consistency is a little bit thinner. And it might be a little bit easier for us to mix. I'm gonna do 1 more little spurt. All right. Okay, so now it's not super, super thin, but it's just a little bit thinner than it was before. So it'll just mix with everything a little bit easier. So once everyone has their ranch mix all mixed together, just give me another thumbs up, and then we can go ahead and add that to our coleslaw. I see a few thumbs up already. Awesome job. Everyone's doing amazing today. All right, does anyone need any more time to mix their ranch together? Enrique, I see you're still mixing a little bit over there. Everyone looks good. All right. So now we're just gonna take that ranch. Perfect, Enrique. Great timing. We're just gonna take that ranch and pour that right over our big bowl with our coleslaw mix and our green onions. We want to make sure we get all of that. And then I'm just going to use that same spoon and just kind of mix everything together. It might take a little bit just for everything to become combined. All right, I almost have all of my coleslaw bits coated evenly in that ranch. All right, so you can see now I've got pretty much all of it is saucy and covered in that ranch. Okay. All right, and we are almost there. Once everyone has their coleslaw mix, one more thumbs up and we can make our sandwiches. I see you, Caitlin. I see some mixing still. That's okay. Take your time, Joshy. I see you. I see you, Kristen. And all our mixers look like they're doing really good. I know it takes a little bit to get it all combined. It took me a little bit too. Enrique, I see you. All right, how is everyone doing? Are we all good? Okay, perfect. So right now we just have to assemble. So I got out a small plate. You just want to take one of your buns. I'm going to put the bottom side down first. And then I'm going to take a piece of chicken and put it on the bun. That fits pretty well. And then I'm going to put a spoon of coleslaw on top. I like a lot of coleslaw, so I'm going to do another little spoon. Just like that. And then the top goes right on top of there. That looks like a pretty good sandwich to me. I'm definitely going to have this for lunch. And then you just want to do that with all
We're
of
having ours for dinner.
You're having yours for dinner? Okay. That's good, as long as you get to eat them today. And then once everyone has a sandwich made, I'd love to take a picture. And Joshy, if you guys aren't building your sandwiches till later because you're making them for dinner, you can hold up your coleslaw or your chicken if you want to. All right, does everyone have a sandwich ready? If not, we'll wait. Totally fine, because I want everyone to be in the picture. I see Tasha's got some sandwiches. I see Kate's got some sandwiches. Nikki, you guys are just watching. Okay, this is a good question. Nikki asked me, if you bake the chicken thighs in the oven, what is the temperature and how long? So I usually like to do chicken at 375. I would say it would probably take around 15 minutes. I would start there, and then you can always use a thermometer to check to see if it's at 165. If you don't have that meat thermometer, another thing that you can do too is just kind of take a knife and poke a hole in it. And if the juice comes out clear, you know that your chicken's cooked. If it's coming out and it still looks a little milky colored or opaque, then you're going to want to keep cooking that a little longer. All right, does everyone have a sandwich ready for a picture? All right, so get those on a plate or hold them. I see Josh, you guys are gonna hold your chicken and your coleslaw. Perfect. All right, just give me 1 second so I can get ready to take it. All right, ready? 3, 2, 1, smile. Perfect. All right. Does anyone have any other last minute questions before we log off for today? I hope everyone gets to enjoy their sandwiches at some point. If not, I hope everyone has a great.
I got a question.
Yes, Enrique.
What's your email? What's the email so that we can send it?
Okay, I'm
For
gonna
the picture. For the picture.
I'm gonna type it in the chat. Okay.
That's for the email.
Yep, she's gonna type it in. Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Does anyone else have a question? All right, looks like we are all set for today. If that's so, thank you guys. You know I love to cook with you all
Give
the
me the email
time.
before she leaves.
Wait.
Wait,
So
wait,
much
she
for
put on the-
coming. If you want to come to the next class, go on our Eventbrite page. Like I said, those are going to be apple cider donut muffins. So those are going to be really, really good. Stay dry. I hope everyone stayed safe throughout the storm yesterday and today. Hopefully it's pretty much gone. But again, thank you guys for coming. I will see you next time. Have a great weekend.
All right. Bye, Sophia. Bye, Kaylin. Bye, Kristen. Bye.